and welcome to Wholesome Roots. Today I have another gardening video for you. This is going to be a how-to on how to start fig cuttings. We have been very blessed with some of the best subscribers in all of YouTube. And one of our favorite subscribers, our friend Zavia, sent us some fig cuttings. So come along in the barn with me and I'll show you how I get it started. So to start, I'm going to show you how I repurpose and reuse items found on the homestead to make a pot for these plants. So what I'm going to do is take this water jug and I'm going to cut it about halfway just below the handle so that the bottom half can be for holding the soil and roots, and the top half can act as a greenhouse dome to help keep the moisture level high around the leaves as they begin to grow. This would work for any type of 2-liter bottle or milk jug. Just be careful, there will be sharp edges if you don't do it nice and even, you know, like I just did. So then you can just set aside the top and we'll use the bottom for planting. Okay, once you have the bottoms cut out, you want to put just a few puncture. Don't cut yourself doing this, please be careful. I always angle the knife away from me so that if I slip, I'm not going to injure myself. Then I take equal parts coconut fiber that has been pre-moistened to make sure that it holds the moisture just fine, and mix it with equal parts garden organic composted soil. Of course, removing any large debris or roots as I do so. Mix those together. Coconut fiber is a much more sustainable resource than the regular sphagnum peat moss that most people use in their gardening mixes. It's a more sustainable approach. So we are using that. I'm gonna add some more so that I can fill up this pot to the top to keep the most amount of the cutting under the soil level so that it can root all along where the soil is touching it. You can also pre-mix this in a separate pot so you don't have to make such a mess on your counter or table. You want it thoroughly incorporated so that you don't have pockets of cocoa peat or the soil. You want it to be nice and mixed together. A nice 50-50 mix, and you've got the perfect opportunity to root in this soil that will hold the moisture well and it won't dry out on you. Some people do add perlite or vermiculite for drainage or even sand, but when I'm doing cuttings, I'm all about keeping that moisture level high so that the rootings will be able to take. Alright, for each of the 2 kinds I received, I've made my own label so that I can put it in the pot that it corresponds with. The first thing I did when these arrived in the mail was I unwrapped the cut root end and I put it into a cup of water to help hydrate those roots before I was able to get them into a pot today. So they just arrived yesterday. They've been soaking for 24 hours. Be very careful when you're unwrapping, if you receive them in the mail, not to damage your top half of your cutting. That is where your plant is going to grow from. So you want it to be undamaged and healthy. So if you notice, there are these lines going around right where the bud scar is. So this is a bud scar, and this is a growth ring. And you see there's a row of dots just above that growth ring. That is where the roots will come from. So it's very important that you include at least one of those rings under the soil level, if not two. This is the easiest part. You go in the ground, and you go in the ground, and I'm putting them on opposite ends because when I transplant them, I want to plant them separately. I'm doing this just to get the roots started. I'm going to go up a little bit higher with my soil so that I can keep the next ring in the soil line. So I'm filling it all the way up to the top. After pressing it tight on the lower end, then in on the top end, gently tamping it down so that the water won't run off completely if it's too tight. So just gently tamp it down. And I'm going to do the same for my other variety. So this one is Mary Jane seedless, and this one is Strawberry Verte. Again, gently, carefully remove that tape so I don't damage the stem. Now, if you receive cuttings that have leaves growing, you want to actually remove those leaves so that the cutting can focus on growing roots. You see how she's removed the leaves that were growing? These buds are good. This is, you can leave these nice new buds to start growing themselves. But if there's a full-on leaf, you want to remove that. So I'm again gonna tamp it around those stems, making sure they're far enough apart that when I go to transplant, I won't be pulling on any roots that have tangled together. I'm gonna fill the soil back up again, all the way to the tippity top of the pot. You can do this in regular pots. I just like to repurpose things on our homestead, and I couldn't find a pot with the right size that I could make my greenhouse effect. So once you're done and you got them in like this, nice and good, then you can add your greenhouse cover back on. You see? So now they're going to be able to hold in the moisture. You might have to add a layer of tape around the outside if these are too tall. So I'm going to water these in real quick just to make sure that the soil around that rooted area is well moistened. But now I'm going to show you a special trick. So some people may recommend using a rooting hormone. I try to do things as naturally as possible, and I haven't bought rooting hormone in years and years. And I find that the cuttings grow just fine without it. But if you are anxious about getting your roots started, there is a natural way to assist your plants using willow. So I'm gonna cut the tips of this willow The tips, the growing points, are where the highest concentration of the 2 different types of acids are that help the roots get established. So it's really simple. I am literally just gonna cut some of these tips off my willow tree. And this is just a wild black willow that grew in my pond area. And you can use any type of willow. There's no exact science or recipe to this. I just got a big handful of the tender new growth and a half a gallon of water. And what I'm gonna do is cut up these pieces into smaller pieces into that water and let it sit in the sun and make a tea. You can also do it with boiling water. All right, I'm just gonna set this jug out here in the bright sunlight, and I'm gonna wait 24 hours, let the sun steep the tea from it. It's basically gonna pull out the 2 different types of acid that are beneficial for rooting plants, and I'll use this to water, and I'll make another batch when it's done. So there you have it. I have my seedlings covered. I didn't seal it yet, so it's not gonna help hold in the moisture as much as when I seal it, but I'm gonna wait till tomorrow when I give them some of their willow tea to help with the rooting to seal these up. And if they look like they got too much moisture, I can take the lids off. And if they're drying out too much, I can put a dish of water underneath them for them to absorb the water from the holes in the bottom. So that's it, easy peasy. That's how you get cuttings to grow new roots in the fastest, quickest, easiest way. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.